want to talk about Inside, the game that I played on my channel, which left me with so many more questions than answers. And it was such an amazing experience, but there's so much going on in this story. I wanted to make a theory video about it and talk about it with you guys. Themes about control, about sacrifice, about the collective consciousness, and oppression, amongst other things, life, death. I mean, we could go on and on. But those are the main themes that I want to talk about. And then we'll talk about specific instances within the game. The developers aren't saying what it's about. We are just left to our own devices to figure it out. I know there are a bunch of theory videos out there, and I've done a lot of research and I've really thought about this. So let's get to it. Obviously, if you haven't played the game, please don't watch this video because you do not want it to be spoiled for you. But the main theme, I feel, is sacrifice. We've seen it from the very beginning of the game all the way until the end. So the first thing that we see in the gameplay are the chicks that bring up this theme. They are following us blindly. We are just trying to find our way, and they are following us, and we need them to help us get out of the part of the farm. So what we need them to do is to get sucked up by the machine so they could get spit out. And luckily, when I first played it, I thought they all survived, but then I went back, I looked, one didn't make it. So one of them didn't survive. Also, we have the sacrifice of the pigs. All the pigs that have the worm that is sticking out of them, feeding on their flesh, and not all of them make it. They are part of this experiment, this social experiment. I don't know what started this whole thing, but we'll get to that. Not all the slaves make it. Not all the zombie slaves make it. Some of them, during the course of the game, we need them, we use them to help us get from point A to point B to get through to the next area, and not all of them make it. Some of them lose body parts, some of them lose their arms, and they still kind of move independently of the slave and zombies' bodies. It's why, how does that even happen? And then the slaves, they are sacrificed when they help us get from point A to point B. We need them to help us solve the puzzles. We need them to help us get through the next area, and not all of them make it. And last but not least, the boy who makes the ultimate sacrifice. And most importantly, in the alternate ending, where he gives his own life to end this cycle, and he is trying to save mankind. So he sacrifices himself for the good of all. Okay, so it seems at the heart of this whole game, it looks like there has been some sort of cataclysmic event. It seems at the very beginning, first of all, the town is so desolate. There's not a person to be seen aside from, the police force. Once we get past them, when we get to the farm area, there are streets that are abandoned. It looks like it has been beached over. There are cars with the windows kind of shot out. So you don't know if this was some sort of uprising that happened on top of this cataclysmic event. What happened? Why are all the buildings up so high? They are up so high. The railway system that they have is up so high. When we were traversing over from top of building to top of building, going through these puzzles and trying to get through, we saw the train cars. They were just hauling these zombie slaves out like they were cattle. Like they were cattle cars, but we were up so high. Had they built this world around them so they could be safe from the water that had infested this whole world, wherever they are, and whatever time period they're in. The world looks deserted. There's a deserted farmhouse with just the pigs. Some look like they're barely alive in the farmhouse where we find one of the orbs, but the rest of them are just dead and just scattered around the farm. And then when we get to the farm, we see these parasites. Where did they come from? Did they come from this cataclysmic event? Were they manufactured by the scientists? Were they the first of the experiments, to try and create this hive mind that came about, that slowly evolved into the blob at the end that we finally see? Were they born from this event, or were they manufactured? We don't know. We have no idea. The farm is literally that. They are farming these animals as experiments before they start on the humans. So this is the levels that they're going through. They're farming the humans for experiments. First, we see it as the pigs of the farm, and then we see it as the people in the facilities. In the beginning of the game, when we first see the boy, and we immediately know he is running for his life. We don't know why, we don't know where he's running to, why he's running, but we see the police force, the enforcers, whoever they are in the woods in the outside world, which is, primarily abandoned, except for these vats that look like where they hold these zombie slaves, or are they human and they turn to zombies? Maybe they started off as humans and they've just got their mind control on them. Maybe that's why they wear the mask. Do they wear the mask to protect themselves, to protect their minds from being controlled? Or what is happening with these enforcers? They are rounding up these people like cattle. They are just rounding them up for the slaughter. Now, you don't know if they were human to begin with, out in the woods when they were rounding them up, and they have converted them to these zombie slaves. And when we get to the facilities later on, we learn that they are manufacturing slaves, these zombie slaves. They are growing them in the water with the worms, the parasites. Can anyone become a slave, or was that the original plan and then they start to engineer the slaves? Okay, when I first played the part where we swim up into the water where they are growing these slaves in the water with the worms attached to them, like they're in the womb and they're growing, and this is like their amniotic sac where they're being able to grow, and until they get to a certain stage, these leeches, these parasites are feeding off of them, or do they need them to survive? Is it a symbiotic kind of relationship? Water plays such a prevalent role in this game. The water activated doors, the facilities 1, 2, and 3 are underwater, and then we see the mermaid creature. Was she one of the first humanoid or human-like experiments? And are they there to help us or hurt us? At first we see that they try and come and take us down, and we can die if they grab us immediately, but there comes the one point where we get to where we cannot fight her off, and we are reborn. She helps us to become reborn, where we can actually control the slaves without the use of the helmet. Up until this point, the only way we can control these zombie slaves was if we were wearing the helmet. And the fact that he knew that, how did he know that? Was he engineered and escaped and came back to try and help the hive mind? And is the mermaid helping us to do this? Since the hive mind, the blob, is controlling all of the creatures and the slaves, up to a certain extent, is that what she's there for? Obviously, to help us. We become reborn. We're able to not only survive under the water like she is, we are able to control all of the zombie slaves with our minds. And after she helps us, we never see her again in the game. At first we thought she was, antagonist, this creature. She helped us survive, and that's the only way we were able to survive to get to the blob creature. Okay, so this leads us to the question, is the boy human or is he a slave? If he is a slave, why doesn't he behave like the others? Why does he show fear, and like when he's frightened, he reacts to it? He starts to breathe heavy, he's out of breath, he's running, he knows there is danger. So even though he does express fear and reacts to it, the slaves don't. They have no fear. They will just jump right off the side of a building if that's where he is controlling them to go. They are mindless. They don't feel. They don't have emotion. They just do. They just go. They are just totally controlled, and they have no emotion. Now we can start talking about the blob, the hive mind. When we start running through the field, we get to the underground bunker. We see someone has been there. There is equipment. There are pictures hanging up. One of those pictures is a picture of the hive mind, of the blob, and leads us to believe that this has been happening before. Who is running this secret underground bunker? They know about the hive mind. They know, and they've been watching, and they are documenting. And is this person, or is he working for the human sentient beings? trying to get humanity back to what it was? Are they trying to infiltrate this facility to try and stop this from happening and keep this from happening over and over again? Because we can see from the picture that this has been happening. There is proof. There is this person trying to bring back balance to the world without having to use these slaves. And that picture of the blob is just, it's just too eerie. When we get to the warehouse and we see what is actually going on in this warehouse, the slaves are just standing around. Some are in crates, some are in cages. And we have to hide. When the door opens, we see a human father and child, assuming it's a son, father and child in the factory, in the warehouse. And it's like they are picking up their inventory. Like they went to the facility to, the warehouse to like pick up something they purchased, and they're going to, just bring it on home. The worker comes and he gets the whole cage full of slaves and brings them out to them. And the boy kind of like hangs back a little bit, and he's like looking, and you wonder if the boy senses that the other little boy, our character, is there as well. Is this a systematic representation of oppression of the humans against these slave beings, zombies, whatever they are? This is one of the other themes, the oppression of these beings. They are not sentient, they don't feel pain, but they are still beings that we created, whoever we are. It's also representative of the upper class and the lower class. The humans who are not the slaves always seem to be dressed in certain type of clothing. There are women with babies as we're doing our parade, trying to prove that we are one of these slaves and not to be discovered. We can see there are mothers with infants, and there are children, and there are, and they are just walking in the parade, they're just performing for us. And it's so disturbing that we are just watching them like we're watching trained animals perform for us. And then we'll say, oh, that one performed, I'll take that one. And it's just so, it's so frightening, and it's so disturbing. It's the sentient beings versus the engineered beings. It's a social commentary of the haves and the have-nots. They don't have a choice, these people, these beings, whatever they are. And it seems that freedom corrupts the entire system. It seems like this has happened before. When the hive mind breaks free, it just disrupts everything, and they have to start all over again. This is the testing ground for this hive mind. I mean, this is why I feel like the factory workers were helping the hive mind to escape the facility. They're doing this to test it. What is it capable of? Can it learn? Can it adapt? Can it follow instructions and use the deduction to escape this facility? Can it go where it wants it to go? Can it learn to learn? And also, it reminded me even more of that. Like, this is just like a medical experiment. The theater, watching the hive in the theater as they're actually luring it like a carrot on a stick to get over the trap door so it can go where it wants it to go. They're not helping the hive mind to escape because it feels bad for it. They're helping it escape because it's trying to see how it can adapt, how it can learn. Can it escape with minimal interference, with little help as possible? But the theater of people, there were children there. There were people smoking and just watching this blob, just like this is something that they just do. Why? Why do they do this? I mean, it's so disturbing why they would do this. And why are they leading it where it wants to go? Why that spot? Why outside? This actually looks like it was orchestrated for the blob to come this way. They were testing the boy to see how far he could get without being killed. Can he make it all the way to the hive mind without getting killed? Can he adapt? Can he learn? Can he trick the wolves from attacking him long enough to escape? It seems like this has been orchestrated many, many times in many different iterations, trying to get it right. One thing I was so confused by were the shock waves, the sound waves, that if we weren't protected behind something, we literally just exploded into a million pieces. We had no chance of surviving that. Was that some sort of deterrent or protection? Or was that a testing ground? Or is that, it looked more like a testing ground. It looked like the crash test dummies when we had to move the, the iron platform across to protect ourselves as we got across. So it seemed more like a testing ground for something. Were the sound waves to protect us in case there was another tsunami or water, cataclysmic water event that happened that started all this? Is that to push waves back, like literally by the sound waves, to repel the waves in the water from coming onto the land where they have constructed their world so high up to protect themselves? That's why they experiment with the water in the facility so much, where the automatic doors close to protect them from when the water comes in, so they can't be penetrated by that, so they can protect themselves from it. So the sound waves, I'm not sure. Please let me know what you think. That when we finally get to the hive mind, through everything we've been through, when we finally go up through to release the hive mind, before we do that, we lose, the boy loses his clothing. He is naked. It symbolizes, purity and rebirth. Before he is enveloped in the hive mind, he sacrifices himself to the hive mind, and he is going to help them escape this whole entity. He's going to get them out. But for what? Is it going to be worth it to escape? What is going to happen when they escape? So who is the boy controlled by? Is he controlled by the hive mind? Is he controlled by the scientists? I feel he's an advanced prototype that they keep trying to advance this project, for lack of better terms. That we've seen that there was experiments done on beings in that last room where no one's watching us, everyone's looking into the pool where the hive mind is. It looks like there is a larger person, not human sized. It's so much larger than a regular human, and it's bloodied, and it's got its, I remember saying it like, is that bloody footprints? Is he like, and it was like alive, for lack of a better term, was alive, and they have been experimenting on them. Like some of the zombies, when we released them from the amniotic fluid from the ceiling, where they were growing, where they were, within the womb of the facility, they had like bandages on them. And some had down their spines, and some had bandages around their midsection and arms and legs. Like, are they using their body parts to create something like this? Create bigger, better, faster humans? I don't know. Bigger, better slaves? Zombies? I don't know. So the scientists cannot control all of these slaves. You can see how hard it was for the boy to control him with the helmet on, where he had a few of them going, and we had all of them following us. And so the scientists can't keep track of there's so many of them. So the hive mind's job is to, I guess they feed the hive mind the information, and the hive mind sends out all the information to the slaves, when to react, when to, move, when, whatever they're doing. Okay, when you get to the alternate ending of the game, you see that you can only reach this ending when if you've seen my walkthrough, you have to disconnect all of the orbs, and you come to like the mothership, and there's one more that's lit up. So the secret underground bunker is where you can find the very last orb, which is connecting everything. So you can only get that once you've completed the game, and you have to go back for, the alternate ending. And you can unplug all of the hive mind. Now, when he does this, he collapses. He collapses like the rest of the zombie slaves in the rest of the world. He just slumps over, and that's it. He's done. He has no more consciousness. He's switched off, and he gives his life. He sacrifices himself in this ending as well. Like, there is no win for this boy. He sacrifices himself for the good of all, to end this cycle of, regeneration and experimentation. He has a sense of morality. This is not right. The enslaving of these people or entities, whatever they are, he knows that this is going to bring about his own end. And this is where his morality comes in. But if he is not human, how does he have a sense of morality? He uses his free will Even though he is mind controlled, he still has free will to do this and to stop this from happening. He disables all of the orbs. He ends his own life, his own consciousness. He slumps over and he deactivates himself just like the rest of the slaves. Even though he is controlled, he's able to do that. So another theme is the free will versus mind control, that he is able to do that. He has a sense of morality. So when we are in the facility, get into the hive mind where we still don't know the hive mind exists at this point. We go past one of the rooms where they're doing experiments in. Inside this one area, enclosed area, is the exact replica of the outside world where the hive mind escapes. The mountain, it rolls down, the trees, to the exact same spot where the light is hitting it. The light is within the facility that's on that diorama of the outside world, shining the exact same spot where we wind up at the end. Why? Why do they have it there? The reason it makes me think that the outside world, that part is completely orchestrated and created, manufactured by the people in the facility, is because the very last door we go through, or the wall we break through before we get to the outside world, it looks like they're a facade. It looks like it's something like if you were in a play and it was like you're behind the scenes. It's manufactured. It's made to look like the outside world. It looks like it's just a facade. But why? Why is it there? Why did they make it that way? And what do they study it after? Like when we land on the beach and we're just lying there, we're still breathing. I was watching and watching. It takes such a long time for the end of the game to come because we're just sitting there and we are breathing. Are we still alive? It made me, some people play it and they feel like, it gives them like a sense of hope. I felt like nothing but despair when I saw that. It just made me feel like, now what? It got us to jump through the hoops that they wanted us to jump through. We've gone the way they wanted us to go. We have followed their lead. They have trapped us and tracked us this entire time. Why do they do this? Is it to test the hive mind's ability to learn, to think independently, to see if it can, solve problems, use its fight or flight mechanisms and defense mechanisms? And so the hive mind is still breathing when we're outside, and we not sure if it survives or not. And is this how they kill it when it rebels? Is this what they do to it when it fails the test? I don't know. In conclusion of this whole game, it just leaves us with more questions than answers, but it makes you think, and it's such a wonderful, amazing game. I enjoyed this game so much. It makes me question so much. A few things that I was researching when I was thinking about the themes of this game. Collective consciousness means the totality of beliefs and sentiments common to the average members of society forms a determinate system with a life of its own. It can be termed collective or creative consciousness. It just made me feel like this whole being, this hive mind, was this, but it was not human. It raises so many questions, philosophical questions. Mary Kelsey is a sociology lecturer in the University of California, Berkeley, and she used the term collective consciousness as a way of describing how it developed, as a way of describing how an entire community comes together to share similar values. Thus has been termed the hive mind, the group mind, the mass mind, and the social mind. So the humans that are sentient in this world feel like, okay, this is the way that life is. We all believe the same things. It's our belief system. This is our way of life. This is okay because we all believe the same thing. There is also a paradox called the Abilene paradox. It's a group of people collectively decide on a course of action that is counter to the preferences of many or all of the individuals in the group. It involves a common breakdown of group communication in which each member mistakenly believes that their own preferences are counter to the group's and therefore does not raise objections. Basically, they don't want to rock the boat. This suggests human beings are often very averse to acting contrary to the trend of the group. According to Harvey, the phenomenon, I'm quoting, this is Harvey, sociology professor, the phenomenon may occur when the individuals experience action, anxiety, stress concerning the group, potentially expressing negative attitudes towards them if they do not go along. This action anxiety arises from what Harvey termed negative fantasies, unpleasant visualizations of what the group might say or do if the individuals are honest about their thoughts, or displeasure and negative consequences for not going along. And they fear exclusion from the group. Now, if I was a human in this world, I would be terrified that if I didn't go along with all of this, I would wind up like the slaves, like the zombies. Doesn't mean that I don't think, you would fight to do the right thing, but I think they just don't know any other way. This is the way it's always been. Totally not okay, totally not right, but that's what I think. That's just how it is for them. And when I was doing my research for this, was thinking, obviously about the hive mind. There's a thing called the superorganism. It's an organism consisting of many organisms. The term is used most often to describe a social unit or eusocial animals where division of labor is highly specialized and where individuals are not able to survive by themselves for extended periods. Ants are best known examples for a superorganism, while the technical definition of a superorganism is a collection of agents which can act in concert to produce phenomena governed by the collective. And phenomena being any activity the hive wants, such as ants collecting food and avoiding predators. This is all quoting. I'm all quoting from this. I did not write this. I did research on this. I was looking on, different sites, Wikipedia. This is all, I am quoting this. This is not my words. I will leave the links for the pages where I found all this information. This is where it was really interesting. Superorganisms exhibit a form of distributed intelligence, a system in which many individual agents with limited intelligence and information are able to pool resources to accomplish a goal beyond the capabilities of the individuals. Like the slaves and the zombies. They couldn't do this all by themselves. They had to come together as a superorganism. Existence of such behavior in organisms has many implications for military and management applications and is being actively researched. Those are the main themes I wanted to talk about. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I know this is like a long, drawn-out video, but there was so much to go over and talk about. I thought it was so important to talk about it. I will leave links to where I got all my information. Obviously, I am not claiming that I wrote any of this or made this up. So thanks so much for watching this video and supporting this channel. Please leave a like. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And as always, I'll be back with more.